up shortly. But first, the NBA Finals in full swing. Major League Baseball is in the middle of its season. Even though the Guardians can't score any runs, you can still bet on them and bet on the unders if you're looking to make some cash. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. If you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com/UCSS and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Jay, Guardians got swept. The floor is yours.
It's a wrap. Season's over. Not the season. They can still win a wild card. They're not winning the division. You're 10 games out. You're 9.5 games out, and it's not yet the middle of June. And I'm not saying that just based on what the Guardians look like and who they are. You know by June 1st. You know for sure by July 4th what your team is. We know what this team is. We also know what the competition is. I had a friend of mine who's a Tiger fan text me today, and it was a glance of the standings, and he goes, "I didn't see this coming." And I picked Detroit to win the division.
I did too.
But I picked all four of those teams to be within 5 games of one another. That's not the way it's shaking out. Detroit's a phenomenal baseball team. Phenomenal.
They can hit. Best record in baseball.
Best record in baseball. They can hit. They can pitch. It's not just Skubal either. Skubal's phenomenal, but it's not just Skubal. And let's face it, guys, we are a 500 team. That's who we are. We can't hit. We have hole after hole after hole in the lineup. This kills me to say this. But Detroit didn't just leapfrog Cleveland. They went by us with a space shuttle. They just absolutely obliterated us. And they're in a different zone now. And now, Jay, you literally have to start thinking about giving away pieces.
What pieces are those?
Well, why would you hold Carlos Santana?
Oh, yeah. I'd never
Jay, you brought that up Friday, and we weren't talking about it because you were fire sailing because you're not going to win the division. We were talking about it because you got a logjam. What are you going to do at first base? You've got to play Manzardo. You have to, despite the fact he's going to hit 190 this year or whatever it's going to be.
Crazy.
You got to play him. And we still have, it's the middle of June. Who's our right fielder? Who's our second baseman? Hell, who's our shortstop? Outside of Hosey and our starting pitching, it's flip a coin. Flip a coin. They can be absolutely lights out great, and then they can be like Ortiz the other night. Clase had gone 7 straight appearances where he hadn't given up a run. He melted down and blew a save. This was a team that they should have taken 2 of 3 from. They got swept.
Yeah. Is it time for Clase? Is it time?
You're thinking about it, Jay.
That's your biggest
right?
piece.
He's a piece.
To trade him?
Yeah.
He's a piece, man.
I don't think they trade him because...
You got Cade Smith.
Yeah, we were talking about this. I mentioned this on the group chat last night. I think they've been quietly listening on him for quite a while now.
Price has gone down.
Well,
right?
That's the thing. The Guardians famously sort of set their price, and they don't budge. And to this point, no one has come up and met the price. And now,
but meantime, his value has gone down.
His value is
like
dipped.
Significantly
down.
down.
His value is dipped from the last postseason through to what we've seen now. His value's certainly gone down, and I don't know that they would readjust and come down. So I think he's here at least through this season. I don't think the season's over. I disagree with that.
Well, I corrected that. Their chances of winning the division are gone. You're not coming back from 10 down against a team like Detroit.
Well, Detroit's leaking a little bit of oil. Jackson Job's out for the year with Tommy John. They just lost their closer yesterday. We'll wait and see the news on him.
They can hit.
But what Detroit has is they have a farm system that's absolutely loaded, one of the best in the game, and they have a clock.
That was us 2 years ago.
And they have a clock ticking over their head because they have a year and a half left with Tarek Skubal.
Yep.
And they're probably not going to re-sign him.
I told my buddy who sent that, I go, your window's small. You better win while Skubal's wearing a D.
Yeah.
Because he's a guy, I said this last year, before the Tiger series started, everybody was saying, we're going to kill the Tigers. We're going to kill the Tigers. And I kept telling everybody, you better be careful of what you root for. Because I'm telling you, this Tigers team is playing the best baseball in all of Major League Baseball at the end of the season. And with Tarek Skubal in a 5-game series, he's going to start at least twice. And you got to find one win from another pitcher, and that's what they weren't able to do. But now that they've filled in a little bit, and I know the injury hurts, but this is a team that it's incredible to me how they went from a perennial 100-loss team to the best team in baseball right now.
What's interesting to me, and I'm not trying to play gotcha, but I'm interested that you feel like throw it up, throw your hands up, it's over, trade these guys.
Yep.
Because when they traded Savali,
I was furious.
Yeah, and
Furious.
it feels like they're in a very similar spot now to where they were then. So what's the difference?
They were 2 games out when they traded Savali, and there were
of
3 trades.
But they're 1 game out of the wild card right now.
I know they are, but you got to look at what they are. Like, who are they?
And that's why I agreed with the Savali trade.
I believed in that team's pitching, and that's how you win in the playoffs. If you give me 2 lights out aces, I've got a chance. I can scrap together 2 or 3 runs, and that might be enough.
And if Bieber's back in a month?
How is this team going to score, Jeff?
But I'm just saying, Bieber's back in a month.
Okay, that's every 5th day.
Yeah.
Then the other days you throw Bibee out there, who one day looks like he's a Cy Young.
Bibey's been very
and the next
erratic.
day he looks like Tim Smith.
Yeah.
You're like, who is this guy?
Can the Guardians afford to be a very minimal team in terms of on the fringes of what they spend, and they got to make certain moves, if they do not have a top 5 farm system?
No.
Because
that's how they survived, right?
That's how
their farm system is how they've survived.
I mean, their farm system has let them down.
Big.
Because that's where your guys is coming from. You're not going to find them. You basically develop them, throwing them out there.
You are a developmental team for the 8 coastal operations that can afford the first-time free agent guys.
I mean, we haven't even talked about the Devers trade yesterday. That was mind-blowing.
Holy cow, I couldn't believe that.
We got a jam-packed overtime with the finals, the Devers deal, and
I couldn't believe that.
But
trade.
that's a team, like, that's a world that the Guardians will never live in.
Never.
To take on $200 million.
Well, with this ownership. What Blitzer decides to do, we'll find out as we go along.
But, yeah, for feels like years we kept talking about the 40-man roster crunch. They've got all these prospects coming up that they have to protect, so they got to make decisions on guys.
None of them panned out,
and they just
that's wild.
But it just feels like I don't think the season's over. Now I agree. I was in favor of the Savali trade because I felt like that team wasn't going anywhere, and it just felt like at no point did I think this team can win a championship.
Do you think this team can?
I think this team needs, and I don't really. I try and avoid like dramatic things like this. I think this team needs a dramatic shakeup. They're tough to watch. It's just tough to even sit down and watch the games.
Hosey never gets frustrated. His 38-game on-base streak was snapped yesterday, or 39, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Did you see after his strikeout in the first inning, he slammed himself in the helmet with his bat? Hosey's a guy who never shows the frustration. Now, he's been playing well. He's been hitting.
Yeah.
To me, what that was, I'm sure it was disappointment in himself.
Yeah.
But you're starting to see Hosey's frustration in everybody else's incompetence boil over.
I just think that they need a jolt. And whether that jolt is a trade, whether that jolt is...
Is it Shane Bieber?
I think, you can't rush that. That's an injury return.
And what have we heard about Shane? He pushed off his start.
He's coming back.
I know, but do we know when?
Yeah, they were... I don't know if he made it yet, but he was cleared to resume. I think he was going to throw a bullpen and then resume his... rehab assignment. So it's basically what we said.
Shut him down for 2 weeks.
Yeah, it was what we said it was.
Yeah.
It really was a nothing. He's back on progression to return. I think Chase DeLauder could be up any day. And is that the answer? I don't know. But he's the top-level prospect right now that I think could come in and try and inject a little bit of life into this team. The
one thing that's helped them is the Twins and Royals have stubbed their toes, too.
They're still not playing him. I texted Zach Meisel, I said, you think you could come up on this West Coast trip? Just watching the game Friday night, I just felt like, I just wonder if DeLauder would be close. And he said they're still not playing him 4 days in a row, and that's the whole thing with him. Yeah. Obviously, he's had so many injuries. He's got to get in the habit of playing every day. But I thought, had he not had the core injury in spring training, I thought he'd have been up after about 30 days.
When does Bazzana return? Was it 60 days with him?
Oh, it was like 6 to 8 weeks.
Oh, well.
4 to 6 or 6 to 8. I don't remember now.
Either way, that was
a month
I thought it was 6 to 8 too.
He's not making an impact on
this
team
I know, but
this year.
the reason I ask about him is just get him back in baseball.
Yeah,
man,
get him playing.
Their farm system is like
MLB.com
going
has
to the
8 to
grocery
10
store.
weeks for the oblique injury.
For Bazzana. And when was that? End of April?
No, June 1st.
Bazzana's injury wasn't June 1st.
I feel like it was
MLB.com right now.
I feel like it was May.
No, it wasn't June 1st. June 1st was 13 days ago.
Yeah.
14 days ago.
From Tim Stebbins on a June 1st article, Bazana, the Guardians' #1 prospect, is expected to miss 8 to 10 weeks due to an oblique strain, which he suffered in the second game, middle of May. So you're right.
Yeah, mid-May.
Middle of May.
So it's been a month.
Yeah.
And if he's on an 8 weeks, that puts him back middle of July.
Yeah, but he's not. He'll be up in May of next year at this point. I don't see him up before then.
Yeah, when he was healthy, he
was struggling.
Struggling, man.
So if you get him back in middle to late July, he was only at AA.
Who's our catcher going forward? See, these are things, Jay, where I'm like, if you've got a piece like Clase,
Yeah.
who even with a reduced value, he's going to fetch some assets. Who's our catcher? Who's our right fielder? Who's our second baseman? The Dodgers, the Tigers, the Red Sox, the Yankees, they're not asking those questions. They know.
And even the second base, when I was alarmed when they were like, he might be a right fielder. I said, what do you mean right fielder?
Oh, with Bazana. I know. Well, that.
How did you miss on that?
Meantime, Caglione's up.
Caglione's up and Kurtz. I think Kurtz homered again over the weekend.
He did homer again over the weekend.
Man, these prospects is like going to Giant Eagle. They cool and you're crisper. You got these fruits and vegetables in here. You can say, I'm going to start eating healthy. And in about 3 days, they start wilting. Then you be like, listen, I should have.
Doritos last 3 weeks in that bag.
Shoot, look, them canned goods over there, they last forever. I could eat Totino's pizza rolls until next year.
I told Mike this before the show. We were walking down the hall. I want to think more on it, but I feel like baseball and the NBA are getting kind of similar in roster building, in that, and Zach pointed this out, Jerry DiPoto a couple years ago when he said the quiet part out loud about we just want to win 54% of our games over a 10-year period.
Yeah.
If you just win 54% of your games and you get into the playoffs, It's about who gets hot at the right time.
That's it.
Who gets hot in October. So just get us in and hope and pray that we're healthy and we get hot. That's how teams are thinking. Just let them get in and get hot at the right time healthy.
You mean mid-teams.
And you see, you're seeing it with the Pacers.
Yeah,
that's the Pacers. They won 50 games this year. If they win the championship, I mentioned this last week, it'll be the lowest regular season win total for a champion in 30 years since the Houston Rockets in 94-95. So it's just they're healthy and they're hot and they're playing really, really well at the exact right time. And I think there's a lot of baseball teams, and I think the Guardians are one of them, that look at it the same way of just get in and get hot at the right time. Now, I would argue in baseball it's different because you have to be able to hit the ball out of the ballpark or you're not going to win a championship.
In baseball, the three-pointer in the NBA is the home run in baseball. We don't, and so go win an NBA championship without hitting three-pointers.
It's because Thunder made 3 on Friday night and still won, which is
that's
crazy.
an outlier.
I know it's an anomaly.
That's an outlier.
That
Also,
is absurd.
Teams win World Series games without hitting home runs.
It's crazy.
That is a way outlier. But if you want to win an NBA championship, you better hit three-pointers. And if you want to win a World Series, you better hit home runs.
Out of the ballpark.
And Jay, it's also partly I'm so disillusioned by baseball because I know you said roster building is similar. To me, there's nothing like Major League Baseball roster building. There's not a move you can't make. Look what happened yesterday. Like, there is the only impediment to gathering assets is how much you're willing to spend.
Yeah.
And that turns it into a spending competition, and we're going to finish 27th out of 30 every time in that. And so at some point over a 7-game series, your deficiency in your lack of roster building and your lack of spending is going to rear its ugly head. Why? Because the other teams don't have a hole. And so if I'm the Guardians, and when I said the season's over, I don't mean that it's the chance of winning the division is over. But also, as I'm projecting, even if they get in as a wild card, I'm not going to project this team to win a playoff series. Because right now, through 70 games, this team can't score runs. And our pitching has been way below where we thought it was going to be. Not just the starting pitching, the bullpen too. And so when you couple all of that together, I'm just looking out saying, okay, make this season worth something.
I don't think there's a boogeyman in the American League. I know the Yankees are really good. I know the Tigers are playing well, but again, the Tigers are going to have some decisions to make at the trade deadline. I'm curious to see who they part with.
What do you think they're going to do?
I think they'll buy. I think they better buy.
They have to. But I mean, Like, you're not going to trade Tarek Skubal, obviously.
No, if I'm Detroit, I call Boston right now and say, what do you want for Aroldis Chapman?
Wow.
Because they need a closer.
They do need a closer.
And Boston
By the way, he's at however old he is.
He's had a great year.
He's still pumping it. It's
having a great year.
incredible. He is.
103.
Yeah. And I mean, that's an easy layup for me. They have a very good bullpen. Detroit has a very good bullpen, but they've been kind of back and forth on their closer.
But why would Boston do that? They're like, after sweeping the Yankees, they're like 6 out.
They just traded Devers for minor leaguers.
Oh, man.
So if
Didn't Devers homer yesterday too? Did he homer for the Red Sox?
I didn't see that. If he
I don't know.
did,
They played the
didn't see
Giants
it.
this weekend.
I think he homered yesterday and then was.
But if they,
happy.
it just feels like Boston may be pivoting to a fire sale and a youth movement. How can you
that's
trade
playing in Beantown this morning after they sweep the Yankees?
How can you trade your best player in your lineup
I know.
for minor leaguers and then convince people that you're trying to win?
No, I know it's a tough sell, and Boston fans are tough.
It also doesn't help that the owner of the Red Sox also owns Liverpool, and they just spent about $120 million on a player this week, or pounds this weekend for a player in Liverpool. So that is not a good look. But we got our guest here. So final thoughts on the Guardians before we bring in Abdullah Mason to UCSS. Final thoughts, Jay.
Oh, he's got gifts.
Final thoughts, Jay, real quick on the
No
Guardians before we bring the
sticks.
guest in.
You better have some sticks, bro. No
Yeah.
sticks at all.
Yeah, there's too many holes.
Yeah.
I'm not ready to give up, but I think they need a major jolt. And maybe, I mean, this isn't a major jolt, but maybe it's recalling Rocchio or recalling DeLauder. They have to do something to inject some life into this lineup.
Maybe John Kenzie.
Not that.
No.
That's what we're talking about. I mean, like, I don't know what happened. I don't know how this lineup got so awful so fast, but it did. Josh Naylor would look good,
Yeah.
but he wasn't a prospect because they weren't going to sign him long term.
I mean, again, we've talked about this at length. In a vacuum, I totally understand why they made the Naylor trade. I totally understand why they made the Jimenez trade.
Yep.
It makes perfect sense. But big picture, they went to the ALCS and they traded their platinum glove and one of the best hitters in their lineup, and I don't know if they've adequately replaced. I mean, Santana has been an adequate replacement for Naylor.
Yeah.
But I said last week I would trade him.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to finish the season in Cleveland, and I think we're going to probably see some. I think they're going to, if they keep playing like this, by the end of July, they're fire sailing people. They're
I hope for Shane's sake and the organization's sake, I hope that he gets to pitch in meaningful games for this team when he returns.
God, I do too.
I hope.
I do too.
But he'll be.
And one last thing, shame on the owner. Shame on ownership. I'm sorry, it's got to be said.
Yeah.
We're talking about the players not performing and the front office is missed on their minor league system. The owner writes the checks. The amount of money that this team spends based on how this city loves its baseball is an embarrassment, and shame on the owners. You're not giving us a chance with that payroll.
And with that,